There comes a moment in the journey when it all falls into place. Not because we planned it, but because love had an ulterior motive all along we were being prepared to see. This is that moment for me. I'm Giselle Gamby, coach, mentor, and podcaster, and this is the Intuitive Pull Podcast Season 6. This season is for the ambassadors, the evolutionary leaders, the ones who dare to go first, the ones whose mission it is to lead from the consciousness of love and break the sound barrier of what is possible. This is for those who know they are part of something greater, and for those who never thought they were. My intention is that Season 6 will change your life, that it will activate your mission and liberate you to lead from the abundance of your wisdom and be in your full-bodied self-expression no matter what, because love is the ultimate mastermind. Welcome back to the Intuitive Pull podcast. It gives me so much joy in my heart to welcome Priyanka Venketesh on the podcast. I met Priyanka on a mastermind that we are both in that has about 180 women at last count. And Priyanka was in a one-on-one hot seat with our mentor. And there was a place that she went to that in that moment, I just fell in love with you. I felt so connected to you, and I have since, really enjoyed following your journey. So I think that's where I want to start. So there was a moment, and I might not exactly have the same words that you used, but there was a moment where you were one-on-one in front of a whole lot of people online, and you had this realization that you were the first one in your family to ... I think that's an awesome place to start, seeing that's where our connection or my connection to you originated for me.
Yes, I remember that call like it was yesterday. And I remember sitting in that seat and feeling like there were these two different conversations that I was having with Melanie, our mentor. One was where I was feeling guilt about the money that I was receiving. And like I was betraying the women, my foremothers, my grandmother, my great grandmother, who did not have any opportunity to work, and my mother who couldn't work because my dad was in the military and we moved around a lot. And this other part of the story, which was where they all had arranged marriages, like all the women in my family. And I was having these two different conversations, and I realized as Melanie said something, and the memory is foggy, but the feeling is there, where she said something, and I realized that if none of them had this much money and continued to build, and if none of them had arranged marriages, and if my desire for love and great love story is so strong, then maybe I am the one who's meant to rewrite the story. Maybe it's supposed to stop with me. Maybe it's not two different conversations that I'm having, but two different worlds that are colliding in me. The love and the money collide in me, the past and the future collide in me. The cycle that was and the cycle that will begin collides in me. Maybe I'm the first. And when that landed, it was just like my entire business, my entire career, I feel like changed in that conversation because it became very clear what the path ahead was for me. So that was what. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very moved by witnessing that experience. And so who did you become the one for, or who did you become the one to be in that moment when you realized that life just changed?
I think I became the one for the chosen ones. I feel like there's a whole spectrum of women who live a life that is still very tethered to their past and to their foremothers. They're carrying on their foremothers' fears, and they're carrying on their foremothers' baggage and all of these things that they are not supposed to carry, that they're supposed to break through. I feel like I became something for them, that they were chosen to be something, that they were the manifestation of all their grandmother's dreams, all their foremothers' dreams, all their foremothers' prayers. Something that I've noticed in this work, especially as I go deeper into ancestral healing, is that all of our foremothers, and I'm going to tear up as I say this, but all of our foremothers had wishes and prayers and manifestations that they couldn't manifest in their timeline. It didn't come to fruition, but they prayed and prayed and prayed. And I see it when I sit across from someone, all of their dreams, all of their manifestations. And then one comes along, and something about their power is so strong, something about their grit, their determination, their ability to break through anything, their ability to say no to things, their ability to choose themselves over and over and over again, that completely changes the future, the prophecy. And they become the manifestation of all their grandmothers and their foremothers' dreams. And I see around them all their foremothers, like just so happy that they became this manifestation. So I think I became something for them. Yeah.
This is why I felt such a deep connection to you, because if people are watching, they'll see that I have shiny eyes. If people are listening, you won't see, but I'm telling you, I have shiny eyes and I have shivers. I have shivers. The depth of your knowing is just so precious. And also, the other thing that I sense when I sit here with you is the depth of your humility is also just, that I'm so present to that. I'm so present to that. I get how humbled you feel that you are the manifestation of all that have gone before you, for you to be the one who is chosen to lead others who are also chosen to break generational cycles and come into their own freedom and liberation. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I love this so much because I actually prayed for this. I was in the Six Line Mastermind with Melanie, Jack, and Amy. And I remember going into that mastermind, and my intention was that I prayed for humility because I know that when a mission lands and when God starts speaking to you, that this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to come through, this is what you're going to help people with, this is what's coming through for you, your ego does take that on. It's like, ooh, I'm the one, I'm the chosen. And even before that, it was like, I'm chosen. So I actually went into that mastermind with this intention, and it's like it became like an everyday practice because it's very tempting to then be like, I'm the chosen, yay. And it's not bad, it's a different feel. It's more like something greater than you is handing you the reins to something that will live on after you. It's not about my journey on this plane. I don't even know if what I'm contributing here will land in this lifetime. I really don't. I feel like it's going to, that something that I say here, something that I gift to people here will spark the mind of another woman and then another woman. And she sparks the mind of another woman. And it creates like a ripple effect, like what
Yeah.
Melanie calls a ripple effect.
Yes.
I think it creates that. And it feels much more easier as well because when you take that on as you're the chosen, then feels like a lot in your body. But if you're like, if we are all doing it, if I'm sparking the mind of someone who's going to come after me, and they're going to spark the mind of someone who comes after me, then it's not, it's a serious work, but I don't need to take it as seriously. I don't need to hold so much weight to my life here that I can have fun and I don't need to be like, I'm the chosen in every room.
Because it gets pretty heavy then, wouldn't it? It would get very, very
Yeah.
heavy, very, very
Yeah.
burdensome, I think.
Yes. Yes. And it takes away from the levity of like life and what your human desires, like you were talking about. I sense when I sit across from you, your divinity. And then, like before we got on this call, I was talking about K-pop demon hunters, and but we get to exchange in that humanity as well. But when we're so tapped into the divinity, it feels like we're so tapped into our mission, but we lose the part of us that's just like lighter and wants to do the fun things because it's not as serious. Like we lose that. But I feel like that part of it is what we are here for as well. Like that part of it is so much more fun to explore as well.
Exactly,
And
the human
it
experience, right?
yes, yes. And it's much more easier when we're all doing it together than and everyone who's going to come after us is like how it's not just the first wave of feminism. It was like the second wave and the third wave. It's like we're not the last bastions of this work. Other women are going to come and they're going to take up the baton of this and they're going to be like, they're going to take it somewhere else. And that makes me feel like, yes, even more proud of this work because we
Yes.
don't know who's coming. We don't know whose mind we're sparking. We don't know the kind of leader that we're molding just by this conversation. We don't know who's coming after us. But the fact that we get to do this and it's serious and it holds such gravity, but that there's someone else coming who's going to take up this baton and take it even further makes this journey much more fun as well. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we get to do this, but it's also fun. And I get to see who's coming next.
So where does all this seeing come from, right? Like what I'm present to with you here is that you're not only looking at the people that have gone before you, but there's also this humility around the people that will come after you that, will may even do things bigger and better and, than how we're doing things now. Where does this seeing, where does this ability to see the whole picture come from?
I asked myself the same question as you were asking me, and the images of my baby sisters came to mind, my cousin sisters. So I have three cousin sisters, two from my paternal side and one from my maternal side. And I love them so much. And I feel like there's something that I see about womanhood through them that is unlike anything I've seen before. From my mother's side, and I was talking about this with Fiona, our incredible Fiona, that my great grandmother used to sing, and she was an incredible singer. And she used to be invited to radio stations. She used to like be invited everywhere just to sing. And the day she got married, her voice started to turn into like a hushed hum. And then it turned into a whisper because her husband did not like that she sang around the house. And I saw this in my grandmother because her husband used to say the same things to her, like don't talk. Why are you even giving your opinion? And then I saw it in my mother, who even though my dad was in the military and posted somewhere, she would lock herself in a room and then sing. Like she didn't want anyone to hear her voice at all. It really embarrassed her that someone's heard her voice. And then I see my little sister, who's the most brilliant singer, and she has no fear singing anywhere. And I see all those people, all those generations singing their song through her. And then I know that it's not just me, it's all of us. And I see my cousin sisters from my paternal side, who are the most incredible, smart, outspoken women I've ever met. They are incredible. They are so smart and they are so kind. Like they genuinely are so kind. If anyone, like one of my sisters, she's now in college for design and she has someone who's just not the nicest to her. They take her work, they take credit for her work, but she's so gracious with that. And still she speaks her mind. She still is like, hey, I don't like this. Like all of these things that are so intuitive to them that I'm like, I know we've got this. Like I know as a planet, we've got this. I think they are the ones who build my faith.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you for answering that question. Um, I want to go backwards now. So I read that you're a lawyer. That was your
Mhm.
profession, right? Until I think 2019.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And then you had a reading with an astrologer.
Oh, yes.
That right? I might not have the dates right, but could you talk about that? Because that
Yes.
was pretty incredible when I read that.
Yes, so 2019 was actually also the year that I graduated. So it was a very short stint as a lawyer. But
Yes.
even before that, while I was interning at different places, what I encountered day after day was this complete skepticism around humanity, skepticism around people, and that kind of bled into me. And at the same time as this was happening, I was in a relationship that was not good for me. And after I graduated, I was working under a boss who was not nice to me at all. So I went to this astrologer because I was like, I need to do something for humanity. I just knew that. And so I applied for my master's in public international law because I thought that I was going to save the world with humanity and in an international level. And I applied for that, but there were strange things that kept happening. Um, when I gave to give my IELTS, which is an English proficiency test that you have to give to go to any country abroad, the entire institute shut down. Like the power completely went off. It shut down after we gave our exam, which had never happened. It had never happened in the history of ever. And then my loan was denied. My student loan was denied. It was like these little things that weren't supposed to happen. And then there were problems with my bank. It was like different weird things that had no actual explanation. And the people in charge couldn't give me an explanation. And that's when I was like, let me go to an astrologer. Let me see what's there. And I thought she would tell me, you're going to marry the person you're with. You're going to, of course, go to this college, just wait it out. You're going to save humanity through whatever means possible, all of these things. And she sat there across from me and she told me that my fate was going to be worse than any woman who had come before me, that I was going to always be fired from every job. I was not going to be able to hold down a job, and that I would always have problems with a boss. Like anyone who is a boss to me, I would always have a problem with them. They would always fight with me. And I sat there and I was like, this is heartbreaking. But at the same time that this was happening, I was separating from this person as well. And that was heartbreaking for me because it was not my at the time choice to separate. And that's when I was like, why is she telling me all of these things? And I heard a voice through me say no. No to this woman, no to this timeline, no to this fate. Whatever you're saying, it's a no. And I didn't know what it was. I now know it's God's voice. It was God's voice. But at the moment, I didn't know what it was, but I just ended the call and I went back to my room and cried. And then I was like, I'm going to change my fate. Whatever she says is not true. I just know in my being that it's not true. And then I went on this journey of becoming a coach and I learned astrology and I got so deeply entrenched and am like engrossed myself in the art, in the discipline of it, in free will, in determinism, all of these things, just to understand in that moment, I was meant to find that woman so that I could say no. Because if I had found someone who had told me that you were going to be all of these things, I would not have believed them. I needed to find someone who's going to be like contrarian to me, who is going to be like, you're not going to be anything for me to be like, I am going to be something. That's what happened that day.
Wow, I love that story so much. It's like the fire. You had to experience the fire within you.
Yeah. Yes, it had to be someone who so told me that no for me to be like yes to my future.
And do you feel that that moment was the beginning? And it might not be true what I'm about to say, but do you feel like that moment was the beginning of you changing your generational dynamics?
I didn't think of that, but yes.
Because you know what I see,
Yeah.
and maybe because it's, what I'm present to within me at the moment, is that astrologer saying, giving you a timeline of misery, really, uh, was actually saying, not verbally, but energetically, was saying, you can't be powerful.
Yes. Yes, I think that's what happened. It's
Yes,
so, it was right in front of me and I didn't see it.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And you said, no, that's not my future. And then the fire rose.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I wrote something about consent, a while ago on my Instagram about how energy work is just agreements and saying yes or no to an agreement. Sometimes you agree to the beliefs that you already have held, and sometimes you agree to things that you hear from God. But when you say no to something, and it's important to say no to things that are not aligned to you in a reading and anything, because we only see, when we're seeing your chart, we're seeing infinity in like a localized place and time, but still infinity in localized place and time. So we don't see everything, and astrologers are fallible all the time. It's important to say no. I didn't see it till you till you pointed it out that I said no in that moment. And the craziest thing is every astrology reading after that, I oh my God, this is such a South Asian thing. But we do these things where your relatives just go and get your astrology reading done by a priest just because they want to know. It's like a very common thing, although that doesn't work energetically because you have to go to the astrologer as well. So it doesn't work energetically if you take someone's chart. But it's a very common thing here. Its horoscope is very big. But every astrology reading since then, any priest who has looked at my chart has always said the things that I prophesied for myself, that I heard God say to me. And it was very interesting that that day was the day when I said no to a certain timeline, that this timeline that I agreed to began.
Yeah.
I love you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's so wonderful. Wonderful. So do you feel like you prophesize, you have the capacity for prophecy?
Yes, because I only see prophecies.
Wow.
Yeah. It started when I actually started with astrology because I did astrology a little bit differently. And that might also be because that might also be one of the reasons why this woman crossed my path, this astrologer previously. Because when I started learning astrology, the way you see astrology, especially predictive astrology, is that you compare it to the birth chart of the person. So anything predictively, it's a prediction. It's like an estimate that you make based on the birth chart of the person, but it's a human estimate at the end of the day. And I never saw human estimates. And what started to happen was that anyone who would come to my reading, I always saw the highest timeline. And I don't call it the highest timeline anymore. I call it the original timeline. I saw them as God sees them. And when that started to happen, something changed in the dynamic where because I could see things that were already true, that were already on their original timeline, it started to move after the reading. Things started to move after the reading. And then I thought I was doing something wrong because general astrology was different. What I was being taught was different. I wasn't predicting anything. I wasn't predicting 1 year down the line. I was predicting 5 years down the line. And it didn't feel like a prediction anymore. It felt like this is the truth. It's going to happen. You don't even have to take my word for it. It's going to happen. I know it. I know it. I know it. And because it felt like that, it started to happen. And that's when I realized that I'm not predicting anymore. And I actually had something very mystical happen that I won't share here
Hmm.
because it's very intimate, personal to me.
Hmm.
But it's something very mystical where God spoke to me in a written form.
Hmm.
And it was a moment where I will never forget it, but I was doubting myself and my abilities, and I was doubting myself in my gift, and I was doubting myself and my channel. And I asked God, please tell me what to do. And I received a written message, like an actual written message, not channeled through me, but from somewhere else. Maybe we'll talk about this afterwards, but it was a written message where God spoke to me and God said, you're not supposed to be an average, just woo-woo person. I'm going to tell you things and I'm going to tell you things about certain person in such a way that this is their truth. It's not their to be manifested. It's not something that they're dreaming about. It's not something they're wishing about. It's what I put into your life. It's what I put into your destiny. It's your destiny. It's not something you have to wish for. It's something that you were born for, something you were prophesied for, something your destiny is. And that's what became my readings then. So the way I go through an astrology reading now is I see what I see for them. I see what God is telling me about them and their destiny. And from there, we look at what is in their chart and in their past that is sort of putting a kink in it. Because what happens usually is that your past so far has informed your psyche, which is natural, it happens. But you can see that very clearly in your chart, whether that is from a parent, whether that is from a circumstance, whether that is from you losing a pet, whether that is from a past life, whether that is from a generational trauma. A lot of the times, what I've seen recently is that a lot of past life things, baggages have come into this life. And so all of that we can see in your chart. But when you start to notice it, it starts to lose its hold on you. And then you can go back to your original timeline.
To the destiny timeline.
The destiny.
Yeah. How does when you were talking about the astrologer and you said no. So when you're seeing into someone's timeline beyond the astrological chart because you can see and you're seeing destiny,
Mhm.
how does the human who's receiving this reading, like what's their role in this? Because you can see, but what's their role?
I think their role is to let go of all the things that keep them. Wait, something else is coming through.
Okay.
So I've been actually having this conversation with myself for a long time between what is our choice and what is not, what is already there in the universe and what is not. And this is something that happens a lot, which is that you will receive an astrology reading. If you go and search for an astrology reading and you receive an astrology reading and they predict something for you, fine. And then tomorrow you make a decision to do something different. When you go back to your chart, you will see that the decision is already there. It will reveal itself. It was always there in the chart. It just didn't reveal it through the astrologer to you. So I wrote this post yesterday, funnily enough, about the astrologer being an oracle on the path. We're not to be searched for, we're only to be found. Because on this path, if you go and search for answers, you'll go down against your path. You're going to go on a winding road. But if you find an oracle, they'll come to you, they'll cross your path. They'll have the exact message that God intended for you. And so this goes back to what our role is here on earth, whether we're just puppets of this higher intelligence or whether we have our own will. And I feel like it's both, but our mind can't hold the paradox of both. And free will doesn't necessarily mean that we get to do whatever we want, it's that we get to use our will to make us free. And all of the times, all of the tiny decisions that we made, you won't see it in your chart. If it's a really big move that God doesn't want you to see, but trust and have faith, you won't see it in your chart, but you will see it in hindsight always. It will always be there. And so a lot of the times when people go to astrologers, the thing they're validated the most by is their past. People can see them, people can pick out nuances from their childhood, very specific situations, and that's because the decision was already made. It was already done, but it was always there in your chart. And so it's both. Your role, when I'm sitting next to someone and I see their destiny, it's not something that's against their role or their choice or their will. It's more like I see what God intends for them and what God has in store for them. But they, as the human, are not just human, they are divinity playing a human. So they made that decision for themselves before they came here. It's just that their humanity forgot and it took all of these things and beliefs and identities in their psyche. And so now they think that their choice is different, but it's the same, which is why faith is a language that they use with their original form. It's the only language that they can trust. And when they walk on faith instead of what they see, and when they walk on faith instead of being like, I need to do whatever it is that is best for me, and they just walk on faith, they eventually reach a path which is the same as God's path for them. So it's not something different, it's the same. It's both.
What an amazing answer. Wow, what an amazing answer. Can you tell me about maybe a client experience that is probably your most mystical, mysterious, miraculous witnessing?
I love this because my last reading was that. So I was getting downloads. So I saw this person had a very clear past life. And they're somehow here in this timeline, in the midst when we're at in this time of the world, wars are happening. And they came in this time because they've already in their past lives been through wars. And I saw two wars, and it was the First World War and the Second World War. And I saw it very clearly. And this person came next to me, and I told them that this is what I saw. And at first, I wasn't sure which war it was because I couldn't make out the uniforms. But then a message came to me that it's not just one war, it's both the world wars that they were in. And they came here because they're meant to be a voice of reason in the times of chaos. And this person told me that they had a dream where they were in the war,
Oh.
Second World War. And I was like, oh my God, I love when that happens. So that was probably my most mystical experience that I can think of right off the bat because it just happened. But what usually happens in readings is that it's like a vacuum in itself. It's like just me and you and God.
Mhm,
And so I don't necessarily remember exactly what happens afterwards. It's like I'm just channeling in that moment.
mhm.
And I don't, it's all like foggy for me afterwards, unless I go back to read for the person and suddenly I remember everything. But most of the time, it's very foggy for me what happens. But I say what I do in the reading is just like I'm a pure channel.
I think this is my final question, I think. What has been your family's response to you making this transition from lawyer to then, enrolling to become an international lawyer to now being an oracle
I
coach?
think first, oh, I love that. Oracle coach.
Isn't
I think
that a
the
beaut
first,
actually, isn't that beautiful?
yes,
Oracle coach, that's beautiful actually, I have to say.
yes, I remember having this download come to me because I initially called myself a sacred arts mentor because I firmly believe that the work that we're doing, divination, channeling, all of these are sacred arts.
Yes.
And then it came to me that mentor, seer, oracle, that's what you are. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'll just, so
Yeah.
simple. I'll just
Yeah.
write
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yes. But my family's response initially was skepticism. I think this is another thing that is important for me as a rite of passage because most of anything that I took on after joining law as a student was very much so viewed with the lens of skepticism. But something happened, I think, a year or so back where their hearts changed immediately. It's like overnight something happened. And I don't think it was my doing anything. I think it was something God spoke to them, something mystical started happening to them. And that's when their minds changed. I still have distant family members who don't necessarily understand it. But I think when I speak about it, I don't speak about it from a space of this is what I do to make money, because I speak about it from whatever God tells me to speak about it from.
Mm,
It lands for them in their truth
yeah.
because it is the truth. It's not made up. It's not something that I'm embellishing for likes or for
Yeah.
their approval. It's just the truth and they feel the truth.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very innate acceptance. And I don't think they haven't overtly told me anything about it, but I can feel it in the way they move. I can feel it in the way they speak now to me, that there's a certain degree of knowing within them. So that's what's happening.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Is there anything else that you would like to say that you feel called to say as we complete?
Yeah, I feel complete.
Yeah, beautiful. There's so many other places we could have gone to knowing, the experience that you and I are sharing, but
Yeah.
I don't feel that this is
Yeah.
the conversation for that. I feel like the conversation that we just had was the one that was meant for today, for today.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel that too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to put up your website details in the show notes for anyone who wishes to connect with you. Anything you want to say from that side of things? Or happy with that?
Yes, I have a program coming out on 7th of July called Chosen, the Freedom Codes. So if this comes out before that, maybe we can put that up. But if not, you can just find me on Instagram and it's perfect.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I loved being with you.
I love being with you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.